to the Million Gold Nuggets podcast, where four dynamic women unite to share transformative insights on mindset, manifestation, spirituality, and the invaluable gems of wisdom that can elevate your life. We are parents, entrepreneurs, and friends from diverse corners of North America, passionate about sharing the lessons we've learned and implemented in our own journeys. Each week, join Nicole, Amber, Jennine, and myself as we dive into heartfelt conversations that inspire and uplift, blending personal development strategies with practical wisdom. Whether you're aiming for success, seeking personal growth, or simply looking to fine-tune your mindset and energy, we've got the golden nuggets you need to turn your dreams into reality. So grab your favorite drink, get comfy, and prepare to soak up the insights that can spark your transformation. Together, let's forge a path to collective growth and expansion, because the journey to fulfillment is all about collecting those precious gold nuggets. Welcome to the show, everybody. And hi, everybody. It's so nice to see you today. I'm
Hi.
Leslie. I'm Leslie, and I'll be your host today. And in today's episode, we're going to continue our talks on the universal laws. And today we're going to talk about the law of correspondence and how knowing about this universal law can change your life and have an impact on others around you. But before we get to talk with everybody about this beautiful law, the law of correspondence, what is it? So the law of correspondence suggests that your outer world is a reflection of your inner world, meaning your thoughts and your feelings shape your reality. The law of correspondence is like a magic mirror. It means that whatever is happening inside you, your thoughts and feelings show up in your outside world, just like a reflection. How beautiful is that? So easy, this law. So how can knowing the law of correspondence help us live a better life? I'm opening that up to the ladies here to talk about.
Well, I guess it depends on, it's funny because you said how easy. And I thought, well, I mean, if you think it's easy, right? Which I do, and we do, but I'm sure there's people out there that don't. So they may see it as difficult. I know before my spiritual journey, I saw life as hard, right? But it was also the tapes that were playing in my head that made it that way. But yeah, I think it is beautiful, and I think it's great because um I mean, just like what we had talked about kind of prior, is what I'm thinking about myself, whether it's my physical body, my appearance, whatever it may be, like that's going to be reflected back. So I'm reminded of all the times that I would look in the mirror and I'd be like, wow, like you're beautiful, right? And then later somebody would be like, oh, you're glowing or you're beautiful or whatever, right? And it's because I was already feeling that way inside. Um, and so um and that's more of a physical appearance, but the same thing. If I feel like a certain capability, if I'm like, oh man, I rock this or that or whatever, cooking, let's just say cooking, I've actually gotten a little bit more into doing that. And then a lot of times, because there's just four of us, and so we'll share with our neighbors, and they're like, oh, this is like amazing, right? But it's because inside I was already feeling like, wow, I'm really getting the hang of this, right? Or like I did a really good job, right? So then that was reflected back, and then they were seeing that within me. And this could go for anything, if you're the type of person where you're like, man, I always get the first front row parking space, right? That kind of thing. And this happens, we've been doing this more and more, and it's actually kind of a fun little thing. And actually just went to the store the other day and it was like pouring rain. And like the cars are all backed up because people are trying to get their people at the door, and then they're trying to find spots. And we kind of just stood there for a while. Well, not stood, we sat in our car, but just patient, like just kind of observing what everybody else is doing. And at first we got a little frustrated because we just kind of want to get in the store, right? It's like pouring rain. And then I thought, you know what, just let it go. So we did. And no joke, like a minute later, somebody pulled out, we pulled right into the front row parking space. And even my son was like, we got a front row. And we're like, yeah, we always do, right? But just like that reflection back, because I already had that inside of like, it'll be okay. And like, we'll get a front row and we won't have to walk that far in the rain and stuff like that. So that's kind of a couple examples.
Wow, wonderful. Beautiful.
I love that. And it really helps us to become sort of more self-aware, right? Like if what we're seeing in our external world is not exactly what we would like, then we can look at ourselves on the inside. Okay, what's going on? How am I feeling? How am I thinking? And all those things. And, that's making it that I am seeing this reality reflected back to me. So I love that, because you're like, oh, this isn't quite what I want. And, like Amber's example of finding a parking space, it's like, okay, wait a second, okay. And like, wait and reframe what it is that that you do actually want and how you would like things to go. And more often than not, they shift almost immediately. So
Yep,
It's
absolutely.
kind of like the same thing with like relationships. So you're saying, like, if you don't like how your relationship is going, because that's what you're seeing, then now you have this choice that you're able to try to change it. So what is it that you need to change to make your relationship work? So not only does it help us, like, it helps us be more confident in ourselves, I think, to be able to make those choices, because we see that reflection, that mirror. And if we know it, we know about the mirror. So this is what this law is so beautiful about, is when you know that whatever you see is a reflection of what's going on with yourself, then you're going to be able to change change those things to what you want.
Yeah, if there's like chaos and struggle outside, then often if there's a point of turmoil, there's a there's inner stuff going on, and you know that just by what's going on the outside. And then then there's some limiting beliefs that you have to work on getting past.
Absolutely. And I also think, like, this can be for any part of your life. It could be for your relationships. It could be for your health. It could be for your wealth, like your money, like how successful you are and whatever it is. Like, everything you can take a look at, and the way that it actually is showing up now is what you think of. Just like Jennine was saying about your beliefs of that certain aspect of your life, right? So
Yeah,
it's,
it often points to that.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, what practices do you use to align your thoughts and your emotions with the reality that you want to create? So now that we know this law, what things can we implement to be able to help us align with those desires or those things that we see that we'd like to change?
I
I
think
would
affirmations, like self affirmations that you come up with, it depends on what it is that you see that needs to be changed. For example, one of my affirmations is I am worthy of love, abundance, success, and things of that nature. So I just keep reiterating that in my own mind. And then I'm believing it myself, and I'm living it, and feeling those areas of love, abundance, worthiness, and things of that nature. Visualizing with emotion, is as much emotion as you can put into a visualization. I think helps with the outcome.
Beautiful.
100%. And I think too, I would add, setting intentions, right? What is it that you would love to see? And kind of go through that and use those techniques like Jennine said, like visualize how that would go. And then that way your subconscious mind is already looking for evidence that it's actually happening, right? And you're more apt to take aligned action and stuff, because it seems familiar because you've already been there in your mind.
Yeah, wonderful.
I love that. Something actually that my mentor teaches is be an observer. Because some people maybe they're not into affirmations, they haven't done them before, or intention, they don't know, right? So just be an observer, right? Like I think of like a secret shopper, right? Like they go in, and I've never done this before, but essentially they just kind of go in and they just observe, right? They're not really talking to anybody, they're not interacting, but they're just observing, right? And so this is something that he teaches a lot, is like sometimes like the bare minimum is to just like observe, whether it's your thoughts, right? Don't make any judgments of this. Just literally observe. Like a thought comes up that you don't like, I don't like the word try, work on just like observing it. So let's say the thought comes up, I'm stupid, I'm ugly, whatever it may be, right? Try to come from a point of just neutral, right? So not making it, oh my God, oh man, why did I think that? Or whatever, of just going, okay, that's interesting, right? So some people, maybe take a day or literally just observe, maybe write it down, and then you notice, oh, it's when I'm working, or maybe it's when I'm around my kids, or I'm in my car, right? And then after a while, then you can start implementing, okay, well, what do I want to think? And then, come in with the Jannine's affirmation, I'm successful, I'm smart, I'm brave, whatever it may be. But just sometimes observing, because sometimes I don't even think we're fully aware of, our thoughts. I mean, we have, some 80,000 a day or whatever. And some may be still lingering in there that we have no clue about. So that's kind of a basis too for those of you that aren't in all of this kind of material.
I
Mm-hmm.
love that awareness of your thoughts, but I think that it's just awareness that this is actually a law that happens, that we're a reflection. So that
Oh yeah.
starts with that. And then it goes into, okay, well, now that I know that I'm reflecting everything, what am I actually thinking? And so that was a really valuable point. And what I was going to add to all of those amazing suggestions was to surround yourself with people that you would like to reflect. So someone that has the, you know, qualities and the characteristics that
Yeah.
you would like to possess. Because the more that you're around people that are the way that you want to be, the more you're going to take on their energy, their beliefs, the things that they do, say, have, be in every way, right? So surrounding yourself with people is really important.
Yeah.
Yeah, gratitude, just being in gratitude automatically raises your vibration. So when your vibration is raised, of course, the law of correspondence, you're going to start seeing, good things, better things in your life. Um, mirror work, speaking lovingly to yourself, look deep into your eyes and just speak loving things into yourself. And that will start, also raising your vibration. And the higher your vibration is raised, the better things you're going to start seeing outwardly.
Yeah.
Especially that gratitude practice, because your heart is in it, right?
Yeah,
And so
absolutely.
when you start to recognize things in your life that you're grateful for, then you're going to, like you said, you're going to start seeing those showing up, right? I
Yeah.
was going to add also, like, take a look around at your space. And I think we talked about this in another episode. I think Jennine brought it up, where, if your space is unorganized, that says a lot, right? Or if your space is really organized and clean and tidy and whatever it might be, but just take a look around and see how your surroundings are, and that's going to tell a lot about what your beliefs are and how you're acting. Whether it's good or bad to you, that's up to you, right? But it's a good start.
100%.
So can anybody share an experience where they used the law of correspondence, where they saw something happening in their life or saw something that they didn't particularly like and they became aware of it and then they were able to change it?
I can. it brings me back to the time when I was rehabilitating my back from nerve damage. I had some herniated discs and was in an extreme amount of pain and was really down in the dumps, to be quite honest. And I couldn't move a lot at all. In fact, my bed was pretty close to the bathroom, like pretty much right next to the bathroom in my bedroom. And I had a hard time just getting up from my bed to the bathroom. And you know, I got pretty disgusted with myself because the thoughts and then the feelings that I was having about not being able to do certain things, not being able to get up and just walk into the kitchen and get myself some coffee, like not being able to, you know, like basically do a whole lot of anything, because even just standing there and trying to lift a coffee pot to pour myself some coffee was out of the question. So, you know, you get into that space, into that mind frame, and it was all about what I couldn't do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I caught myself and I was like, geez, right? Like this is like, and I got so annoyed with myself because I'm like, okay, just another thing I can't do, right? And I'm like, wait a second. I'm like, what can I do? And so I started, and it was painful at first and it was slow, but I started to think about what I could do. And it's like I stood up and I stood there for 10 seconds. Woohoo, this is what I can do. Right. And so sometimes you have to, like, you know, start small, but it's just that small little shift. And the more I shifted that and was like, you know, okay, what can I do today? Right? Like, how long can I stand today? How long can I walk today? How long, you know, can I sit up today? It totally changed things. And then it started giving me a sense of pride because I was like, oh, look at me go, right? Like, look at my progress, right? And even though it, like I said, it, you know, it seemed really slow at first, you know, those small daily changes really add up over time. And that internal shift that I had completely changed my healing journey from not thinking that I was going to be able to walk again properly without pain, to now like walking, you know, for kilometers on end, and swimming, and, you know, biking and skating and skiing and all the things that I thought I was like, that was done. So
Yeah, you changed your focused attention on the good things, on the things you could do.
yeah,
And so, yeah, that ultimately helped change your outcome. Fantastic.
yeah. Thanks, ladies.
Anybody else have another example?
I just,
You know, like you brought up, yeah, well, like you brought up earlier, you know, just cleaning a space that you're in, you know, a lot, and just keeping that tidy and keeping that clean allows you to focus on task in hand. That really helps me. Um, you know, what in my workspace, it just helps me stay on task when I'm not focusing on, you know, all the stuff that's scattered about.
Makes sense. Absolutely. Amber?
I was just gonna say, like, what you focus on grows. So, you know, I feel like, you know, if we look at a mountain way off and we can see, you know, something versus like taking a microscope and now you're seeing all these things, right? Like whatever it may be. And it's really just kind of observing it without, because kind of like, you know, what Nicole was saying, and that's, I mean, that's a beautiful shift, right? But you were probably not only focused on it at all times, right? Naturally, but then there's emotions involved. So then it was like, oh my God, I can't do that right now you've attached emotion to it, right? And so that is why it just kind of kept growing, right? But then you had to kind of remove it and then come from a emotion, but like in a different direction of like, okay, cool, what can I do? And then you got excited about it, right? Because emotion is such key to you know, like we've talked about in here, manifestation and like changing our vibration, like all of these things, right? And so it goes either way. And I have literally manifested ailments. And I mean, I've landed myself in the hospital thinking I had a heart attack, and it was 100% from my mind, because I kept focusing on it, focusing, oh, what is that? What does that feel like? And then I'm Googling heart attack, and right, like all these things, right? Memory stuff. I was 30 something and I thought I had like Alzheimer's, and the doctors were like, we can't even do a test. It's not, you're 30. Like, what are you talking about? Right. And but my memory would be, I would forget things because I was so focused on, oh my gosh, I can't remember, right? And so then it just you know, expanded. And so it works the exact same way, the opposite. Like, what do you want to focus on? Right. And then that's like actually going to show up in, you know, in more ways. Like, we want to move, and then all of a sudden I see like U-Haul trucks everywhere. Right. That's part of the reticular activating system. But I'm saying, like, I'm noticing things, and these things are expanding, right? Coming upon your awareness. So it's just, it just goes to show, like, what do you want to take a magnifying glass to? Do you want to take it to pain? Do you want to take it to an ailment, to, you know, a bad relationship, whatever, right? Like, what do you want to put it on? That's kind of how I look at it.
Wow.
Yeah, and something you said, Amber, I'm not exactly sure what it was, but it kind of triggered something in my mind about, yes, you want to focus on those things, those good things, those things that's going to, you know, take you to where you want your awareness to expand, but also without the attachment of the outcome.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like, yes, you want to focus on those next steps, making those next steps. But if somehow you want to focus on those things without being so attached that if it doesn't happen right now, it's okay. Because as
Yeah.
long as you keep focusing on those, you know, like, you know, Nicole was saying, as far as standing, okay, you want to stand for 10 seconds, but if you don't make it to the 10 seconds, it's okay. Don't be so attached where it brings you back down
Hmm.
to that lower vibration. Just, you know, yes, I made it 5 seconds, and, you know, celebrate that win. So, so yeah, you know, focusing on those things, but without the attachment of it absolutely happening the way you imagined.
Yeah, I don't know if we've done an episode on attachment yet. If not, we probably have to, because we could do a whole episode on that. But you're right, it's very
Yeah.
you know, it's, I don't want to say it's tricky, but there's kind of a fine line, because you obviously want emotion to it, right? I'm super excited for this thing, but you have to be
Mm-hmm.
okay with it as well. You know, you hear these people, oh, if you leave me, I'm gonna die, or like, what, all these things. It's like, why would you want to, you know, if I don't pass this test, it's gonna be the end of it, or what, you know, whatever it may be, right? That people are talking about. And I'm just like, geez, I would never want to put, right, anything like that on, because it's, everything's energy, including our words, right? So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, exactly, excitement, but I'm gonna be okay either way, right? Whatever happens.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Such
But yet
wonderful.
still always focusing on the good outcome.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Wow, such wonderful suggestions for this law of correspondence. So to remember the law of correspondence, remembering that your life isn't random, it's a mirror. If you want to change what you see, change what's inside first. Once you master this, you stop reacting to life and you start designing it. Remember that your mindset isn't just important, it's everything. So thanks for tuning in to this Million Gold Nuggets podcast today about the law of correspondence. If you got value out of this episode or think someone would benefit from it, please hit the share button, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the icon button so you don't miss an episode. Until we meet again, remember, the journey to fulfillment is all about collecting those precious gold nuggets.